MakingStarWars.net.
Hey everyone, I'm Jason Ward from MakingStarWars.net, and today we're going to be reviewing the 5th episode of Star Wars Obi-Wan Kenobi. So if you haven't seen it, I don't know what's wrong with you. I stayed up until 3 in the morning watching it twice, so I don't care about your feelings. How's it going, Rob?
Probably go watch it then. Hold on.
Right?
I'm never gonna be able to fake it now, am I, Jason?
You gotta fake. You gotta
when the spinny, like
fake
Santa
it
would
till
say.
you make it Star Wars.
I liked it when the ship landed.
Oh right, when there was the space stars.
Yeah.
All right. So so I made a little list of shit that I wanted to hit on really quickly. And so I like, I like how they structured the narrative with opening on the flashback. And that was different than the way, because we knew what they filmed. So it's like I heard, and it sounded, like he goes into the meditation, then you go to that. Well, this was like dispersed throughout it. I think it made it feel like it was bigger and that there was more to it. And then the importance of it was continually reminding you, which I did like. Note, Anakin has 2 hands. So that's some Attack of the Clones, pre-Attack of the Clones Anakin. That's not during Attack of the Clones or after. It's before, because he's got 2 hands. Reva being promoted was I liked the feeling of, oh shit, you're out of your league now when that happened. Also, like Star Wars Makes video where they put the little button on you get the little badge and now you're the leader. I thought that was pretty hilarious. I watched Makes video. It's about 8 minutes. It's really good, but yeah, that is funny. In this episode, this could be seen as a critique or a positive, depends on how you want to look at it. Finally seeing Jabim in exposition made the setting feel more real to me and better. It made it feel like it was less small. I think in the previous episode, Kenobi's down for the count, so he goes in and we're seeing what Kenobi sees. I don't know if that was a good idea, but I did feel a sense of place and space. No pun intended, but I did feel that as opposed to the last episode where I was just like, now we're on rock walls, Weird note, everyone is relieved when they land. We got her. What about Wade? Wade was there for you. And you forgot about Wade, which made a little bit of the heavy-handedness of the previous episode a little more comical as well. When you watch them together,
I'm trying to imagine the scene we didn't see where O'Shea was like, he's like, hey everybody, there's a kid and I'm gonna go out there and help. Like, how did he get 50 random people all psyched up for this mission? Like, that's the one where I was like, I guess they're hoping that their dudes come back. Not so much. I thought they would be resolved, or like, was it side when their crew came out alive?
Yeah.
But when they see Leia, I'm like, oh, thank God. I'm like, how did they inform? All right, like, I'll go with it. But okay, no Wade. Like, someone should have been like, Wade. Like, I can see the skit where they got like the card, Wade, we love you, welcome back home. And his kid's like, and it's just like,
oh wait,
like the Simba, remember from like Lion King,
what little things that I just like that I consider to be light character moments are like Tala being the proto Leia in certain ways, and when she lands, she's happy to see Ned. She doesn't really care about anybody else. She's like, Ned, you're my boy. And the little droid, caring about droid. Once again, also like I'm gonna jump a little bit ahead. What I tend to say this here, but I'm going to love in this episode. I think it was clear, like when we get back to Haja, I was happy to see him. I liked all of the dude's moments, and then like all the Tala moments. Like Roken as a character. I think Roken's delivery at times is a little bit on the weaker side than what it could have been. That said, though, like the character, and I like the actor, so I was it struck me in this episode how glad I was that these characters exist, and that I think that they did put a good cast together. Want to give, for as critical as I have been of the volume in past episodes, the one shot of Darth Vader on the Star Destroyer where we pan around and we keep panning into Reva as they're approaching Jabeam, thought that was a very inspired use of the technology to give us a shot we haven't seen before, and it actually, like, it was fitting, as opposed to trying to make traditional filmmaking styles and ideas fit into the volume. I felt like this was a moment where they actually used the volume and shot it appropriately for the most part. Lola's a fucking asshole. Nothing's going to change that. But what I did like about something about like the balance of it is that Lola sort of represents Leia's mistake from the very start. Her lack of responsibility as a princess of Alderaan. She wants to go fuck around in the forest and play with her pet, as opposed to doing what she has to do with something great, bigger than herself. And we have Lola who goes and fucks up that gate or closes the doors, messes it all up. But then at the same time, Leia also fixes it. I just kind of like the fact that she made the mistake, she caused the issue, and then the character does fix it. So you don't feel like there's any kind of imbalance. There's no reason to be like, oh, that kid's a little shit or anything like that, you know. Lots of delivery.
I do.
Mm-hmm.
I do wish though in episode 2, was it 2 when we saw her on Alderaan? Was that?
Yes. Yeah.
2. Yeah.
Well, it's actually it's one.
It's one. Being a little bit more mechanically inclined around there, like in her room or something. You know what I mean? Where she like putting together her robots or something. Because we know, it's a trait of Anakin. Luke has it. It'd be nice to see her have that a little bit more. Because when they were like, she's like, I'll go fix it. I'm looking around like there's fucking 5 mechanical dudes out there. Like they ain't got union jobs. So you get to fucking work.
You have to be small. You have to be small. That's why Roken's
yeah, they got little dudes.
Roken was like, I'll be Winnie the Pooh if I try to do that. I'm not gonna be Winnie the Pooh with an Inquisitor lightsaber in my ass. That's what Roken was saying.
Reva's been cutting hands and legs for 10 years. They got some people back there with a little stump, right?
Nubs,
stumpish. Yeah, Nubs. Nubs in the back going, oh man, no work for Nubs,
Yeah.
So it's just
another child actor taking my job.
Yeah, I was cool with it. I thought Obi-Wan was a little bit of a dick though, and he was just like, hey, let her work on it. He was like, all right, man, gosh, like all right. Like Obi-Wan General's running this shit now. Like,
and like in the terms of the dialogue in the script, you want to be effective and efficient. Right. I felt like there should have been a Star Warsy word for ladder that was both kind of amusing and clear, but they just went with ladder.
I thought,
okay,
this would have been the perfect place for Roken at the end to go, man, I got a bad feeling about this. Walk off, that it would have been fun to use it in a more of like a let a little kid up in here. I'm just trying to do my job. Roken just trying to do what Roken does, man. Right. No one cares.
but I ultimately like the no nonsense delivery of dialogue. How long do you need? He's like 3 or 4 hours, and he's like, you have one. Like just the delivery on it felt very on. I felt like I was seeing Obi-Wan Kenobi from the Clone Wars as well as this iteration. I felt like it, and that's one of the big things about this episode is it does all get tied together. A lot of people, I'm not trying to point fingers and like be a dick like I told you, but a lot of people were like so wanting the 5th episode to be the first episode, and here you're starting to see all of the shit get tied together with the character, and I think it ultimately works. But I'll talk about that more in a second. After Tala's speech about killing Force sensitives, like I said, it occurred to me how much I like Tala, Haja, and Roken. And Tala tells him there's things that you can't forget, but you can fight to make them better. And that moment, I think, has generally been overlooked in most of the coverage I've seen from the episode. That's the really, really important moment right there. And then that combined with her death, that's when Kenobi has more of his aha moment. I need to stop being a little bitch, essentially. I mean that respectfully, but you know, this is when he goes like, you know what? Like that's his moment where he's like, yeah, you do just have to get out of bed. You just have to. Like and that's sort of where we're at with Kenobi at this moment, and it starts to work. And then also we need somebody to clip Roken saying we got a plan B here, because that's a hilarious abortion joke. Going on, and Obi-Wan goes full negotiator mode while figuring out Reva. Buys time, solves a narrative mystery while furthering the plot, doing character work at the same time. So the show can essentially walk and chew bubblegum at the same time. And that is good. Oftentimes in bad Star Wars, it's one or the other. And there we got both going on. I was like, yes. Order 66, when we get to Reva, she specifically says an important line that she was too weak. And it subtly explains her desire for power. It actually makes a lot of sense. Also love that it mirrors Anakin, because to save the ones she loves from dying, she thinks she needs power. In those moments of feeling helpless is when she goes, I need to be an asshole. I need power. If I had the power, that couldn't have happened. And so in a very nice way, in a George Lucas way, it rhymes. Pretty fucking hardcore that she plays dead and hides in the bodies. Also, gotta throw it out there. One thing I wanted to add, I made some jokes early on about Reva's stupid fucking lights on her suit. And one of the things that I've wanted to suggest is that when she's a child, she is stabbed in the stomach by Darth Vader. And she survives, probably through hate and probably by getting a little robot tummy, as people do in Star Wars. That might be why they have those fucking lights on their costumes. That might be just like Cad Bane's little support system. That may be where they're going with this. And if people are wondering how she survives the second time, same way she's probably the same way she survived the first time, but also if she's got like an implant, if she is mechanical in there, that could also explain that to some degree, but that's asking you to do more work than you should have to, admittedly. Love that moment where Reva asks Kenobi back, do you want Anakin dead? And he can't say yeah. Great fucking character moment. Like really, really good. He should want him dead. He has every reason that he could, but also with their history, he has every reason to really miss his actual like son, brother, friend, however you want to view their relationship. But ultimately, Obi-Wan has to hear a kid from Order 66 in the temple go, why, dude? Like, what were you doing? Like, fucking great. Like the fact that it culminates to that moment is powerful, and it was strong.
I think that idea in that moment right there is like high fives all around, bust out the bottle of champagne when that idea comes spitting out of the writer's room. You know, like that was fantastic. It's the thing that, like, when I saw the first episode, I'm like, man, it just, you know, you see that Padawan scene and it kind of cuts, and you're like, I was saying at the time, like, you know, if we see the horrors, we see these kids, if that's Reva in there, then like having someone that had to deal with Obi-Wan's inability to take care of his fucking shit, seeing the humanizing the trauma of that into one person is a really great idea. The problem is we've been mystery boxing it for 4 episodes to find out if that's the case. And that's just like, I wish that was super clear in the first episode, because all this mystery boxing for like between then would be like, this would be the point where she's able to say, yeah, you know, like we knew it, but Obi-Wan doesn't know it. And then he finds out, and then when she puts that to him, hey, you know, like you couldn't do it, you know, like, would you? And then it's true, you know, he can't. So
yeah. And
that
that kind of stuff ends up being like an issue watching live week to week upon release, but like for most people who will probably sit down and watch it like in 2 sittings, it does. I think it does. Like if this had been the movie, I think it would have been fine. You know what I mean? It would have been fine to the unraveling here at the culmination. But I think it's a fair. I think it's a fair critique.
Story as is was condensed into a film. The editing would have been probably my biggest difficulty with the story is the editing is so. I don't know. I don't know how to describe it right now. I feel like it some ways invokes the prequels. So like I go, okay, that's prequel-y, like with the editing. So I'm not going to complain about that. But then when I'm like, when I like that scene when the Padawan, like it didn't feel complete. It felt like it cut off. So we're seeing moments here through the flashback, but I feel like some moments are really, really great for expositional talk. And some moments we can, if we saw it and then you're getting a little bit, I mean, like one clear scene where you hear her talk and you see it and her voice is going over it, then okay. But it's just a lot of flash images, flash cut to this. Like how much was shot and then they were trying to like congeal it all in the editing bay. I mean, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. There's no guarantee on anything. So here it's effective. I just think like for me, like it would have been 10 times more effective. It was just one piece here, one piece there, and then it smet. This is where the worlds collide. This is where the worlds collide. It's empty. It's all good. I finished it.
No, I thought you hit your mic. You know? I thought you took your mic down. I was like, man, he's he's going full Darth Vader on the ship.
My solo cup here, yeah.
Got my solo shirt on. What a solo day.
So I'm glad that conversation was had, and I'm glad that character's had to deal with it because that's the other part to the. If you're dealing with the aftermath of episode 3, you know, if you're dealing with like a scene sequel, this is a sequel to that scenario. Having someone that had to personally, Obi-Wan having to deal with someone who personally suffered the consequences of that. And not in like and then you go, well, the whole galaxy suffered, Rob. That it's not the same. Not the same as seeing the whole galaxy suffer as one individual kid fucking suffered horrendously, and look what she's become. And you're directly, you know, responsible for that. So what are you gonna do about it, bud?
Well, and before when we start the series off, if we want to profile Kenobi psychologically here, that conversation's been in his head the whole time, though. No, it's been in his head the whole time. And it just doesn't go anywhere. It can't actually be resolved because it's a hypothetical. And here he actually has the conversation with her, and which I think helps move past it. It's like when you really got something you need to say to somebody and you don't get to say it for years, and then you finally get to. It's different than how it was in your head, but it does help you get past it. Also, big moment too, as Obi-Wan tells Reva, like, you won't stop him alone. And Obi-Wan, he needed to be there. So it was all Anakin saw. Remember, he goes, I'm going to be all that he sees, or something like that. And then what does Reva do? She thinks that she has it on her own. It has proven herself to herself as doing well on her own. But that's why she fucked up. She ultimately went at Darth Vader alone. Had Kenobi been on the other side, he wouldn't have been watching his back. And but also, side note, I could have used a moment where what's her name, Nietzsche, Cornhorn's mom, sees Haja and is like, "What the fuck, dude? We're saved. We got 2 Jedis now." And then they're like, "Oh no, this guy's a fake one." Just saying, that had to have happened though, right? She had to have been like, "What the fuck is this?" And then Haja's not really doing shit. She has the gun at the end. I thought that was kind of funny. Nice.
Yeah, I think that sort of thing doesn't happen because I think the shots back are like when they see like Leia with the mom and Corn. Sometimes I wonder if that's more like something that we still have them as extras, got them for the day, put them on the set. You know, let's put a scene there. I don't think that's like a script moment too much.
No, no. She was actually like truly cast in it. She's like not like an extra. Oh. She was like cast in the role. When I did the UCR show, the other dude I was doing the show with, nice dude. He knows her, and he was like, I think we're gonna see her again. So kind of had a little leak on the UCR show, which is weird because it's.
I mean, they had Corn. Corn could fit up in that. Send him. You know, he's got a little force power. Send him up in there.
Just
there was
us,
more than one small
Corrin,
person there.
Corrin seemed a little slow.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Is he
Disney's...
Jedi or is he autistic? No, we can't.
No, not that. Nice character moment though is that Niche or Nietzsche, I don't know how you pronounce her name, but she isn't helped by Kenobi in episode 2. He like literally just watches her get taken advantage of and watches her move on, and is just not a player. In this episode, he actually saves her life. Tala dies, but he's able to save her. And once again, not really big on checkboxing or scorekeeping, but I do like how there is sort of atonement for the earlier failure. Generally speaking, so far, I've not approved of shaky cam. In this episode, I approve of shaky cam. Tala's death moment, I do not think would have played as chaotic and wouldn't have felt as in the heat of battle without it. That was a moment where I liked it. Also want to give some credit to Holt for the score and the violin theme when Tala dies. People are being really hard on the score because they want to hear classic stuff. They want to hear John Williams stuff, and the John Williams affiliation or association has brought that into the forefront. And when
that it takes place between 3 and 4 specifically, featuring the main characters from
but Rogue One didn't do it either. So it's like
but that wasn't a Kenobi and Vader story.
I know,
so it's a different scenario, and they still went for that feeling. It's the tone of the music. They didn't go for a full synthesizer score in Rogue One. They went for a full orchestral.
And they did that here too. They did a full orchestral thing here. But what I'm trying to say is that it's the Order 66 music is like, it's almost the Order 66 music, but it's like a different version of it. I would say it is as good as the Order 66 music. And I think whenever you take all of that together from the flashbacks, and that, I think it does make sort of a death suite almost. But we'll have to see. Next week is when I think it's when she dies or she lives. When they fight again. Does it do Battle of the Heroes? Does it do Duel of the Fates, or does it not? Kind of thinking it might not. I'm a little afraid it might not, you guys. But so anyways, Obi-Wan fills the deaths in the story. It does a really good job of that, because when you get down to it, if we were to just to take the original trilogy or A New Hope as the Bible to Star Wars, he's the most empathetic person in the whole thing. When Alderaan's blown up, it's like he gets gut punched. It's like a 1,000 or voices cried out in terror or whatever. Like, he feels that. They did that here. They brought that attribute to the character that wasn't there during the Clone Wars stuff, wasn't there in any of the prequel stuff. It doesn't happen until A New Hope, which is just a thing he does in that movie all of a sudden. In this story, it is sort of like, I almost feel like they have opened it up to the guy going down so low, coming back, has made him more empathetic, but it's also, he's more in tune with the emotionality of moments, like when, and he feels it. Like, we don't get that in Star Wars a lot. Oh, my aunt and uncle are dead. Onward to adventure. You know what I mean? It kind of like, and in this, I felt like there was enough time in moments given for him to go, fuck, that happened. But then we didn't just sit there with like a pity party like it was with Wade, where it was sort of weird. Also, one thing I just wanted to like throw out there, when Anakin says there's no way out, Master, during the fight, are they doing Luke versus Vader in Return of the Jedi? Because it did seem like Anakin was doing the same chops. When Vader's going down before he gets his arm cut off. Might be coincidence, but I'm pretty sure it was the same. It was the same moves and setting up the same kind of scenario almost. And there are other ways to fight, alternatives to fighting. He says that's what he says. He said there are other ways to fight. And A New Hope, there's alternatives to fighting. And I gotta say, character. Like this was nailing the Kenobi character better than I possibly could have imagined that they would have. It definitely did it more than they ever did in anything else, and it bridges them perfectly. So I'm fucking happy with that. Also, like there were those like moments. I thought Obi-Wan had a lot of good lines in this one. Like when he gets brought before Reva, and he's like, "You think he's fucked?" But he's like, "You're not bringing him to me. I'm bringing him to you." Like fucking badass moment. I was like, "Fuck yeah, Obi-Wan Kenobi." And then he asked Reva
all the
straight.
stormtroopers who are busy listening to music, so they don't hear him talking.
Yeah, they listen to the podcast.
Would they say it? I don't know, man. This fucking beat is dope, dude. New oral knots dropped, right? Can't hear him. Can't hear him talking about treason and shit. But good though. I like the way he did that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then when he asked her, "Are you going to let him do it again?" That's when he finally gets in her head. That's when he is able to get beyond her like wall, if you will, and actually like hit her internally. And I think that's when she starts to come undone, like a sweater and a Weezer song. Music is badass when Vader throws Reva's saber down as well. Another really good music moment. Watch, everybody gets the moment's working so well that the music is getting overlooked when Reva and Darth Vader have their fight. That does not sound royalty free. That's fucking really good. Reva does. Oh yeah. Also, like Moses Ingram, when she is looking at Darth Vader, flashing back to Anakin, she does a really good job of letting the tension in her face go and her eyes widen and becomes the kid. And she sells it. She sells the connection between the two moments. If Moses had not committed to that moment, it would not have worked as well as it does. And I mentioned the Reva taking the tummy 2-time tummy saber hits. I'm pretty damn sure that's what that is saying. Also,
well, she's got 6 stomachs.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
She's a Tummalorian. Tummalorians. They all have 6 stomachs.
She's like,
yeah.
Also, the Care Bears, they had 6 stomachs too. That's people don't know that. So it's it's right there in the 80s.
Well, George Lucas's original idea was the quad butts, was a 4 butt species. They said no to that, and they went with the 6 tummies. Hyperdrive is down.
How did you know about that? How did you know?
Leaks, man. Leaks, dude.
Fucking Kurtz. You know, he just won't shut up. I bet you it was that Prowse. Every time I came up with something like a 6-tummied scare bear, he'd go off to Comic-Con and just fucking tell everyone about it. It's ridiculous.
Prowse would leak to me and then block me on Twitter over and over again. It was very strange.
Leak and block. You got leaked and blocked?
Leaked and blocked.
Sorry.
At the very
just love
end.
That hold on. I just love that David Prowse was the biggest Star Wars leaker in the 80s. Like,
yeah.
I didn't know that until you said that, and I swear it's the most interesting thing I found out on this show. Not to put down all your spoilers and stuff, man. You're really great at it. But that
I'm no David Prowse. I've never snuck into a Darth Vader costume by saying I could lightsaber fight and couldn't, and then leak the whole movie after that. So
how great is
hats
that?
off to the king. Hyperdrive. So at the end, quiet moment with Broken, and he's like, hyperdrive is down, basically saying we're fucked. And then Kenobi is feeling Reva coming to the conclusion that she has discovered Luke. Those things working together in the penultimate episode. I hate the word, but I'm going to use it here. The penultimate episode, stakes got raised at the same time, and it was effective. Shaky cam, like I said, shaking cam during the anxiety works. Once again, this did not like shaky cam before this episode, but when we get the close up of Obi-Wan's face on the ship, when he is having his oh fuck moments, shaky cam in that moment too, which I thought was kind of
on the Padawan scene on episode 1 was really great. Like,
mm-hmm.
especially like if it had taken up, we're right behind like Reva, if it had been more like we're right with, because when you do that, you become the person in the trenches, right? Like, Remember that movie 1917 came out like right before
Mm-hmm.
2020 hit?
Yeah.
Oh man, so long ago. But yeah, so it really does work. Just don't use it for like office shit and
Mm-hmm.
everything else, you know. But yeah.
Yeah. Don't use it when they're just walking to look at a
And
fucking stall in Tatooine. But Ewan
and I
sells
do
that whole
think
thing with his eyes. Like the eyes on
I do
Ewan,
think
fucking acted that shit's ass off. All four
with a
butts.
little bit of foresight though, one could have said, okay, we haven't done a lot of shaky cam in Star Wars. Shaky cam could be like when we're in shaky cam, we're seeing through like Reva moments. So then she's in that tunnel with him. You know what I mean? Like there could be like an unspoken like not law, but you know what I mean? Like this represents when this character shows up, we're seeing it more from their eyes, kind of thing. But I don't know. But
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah, it was done well.
And then once again,
Also, I
sleeping Luke
love
at the end, though. I mean, just in case anybody was confused by what it meant, they completely put Luke asleep in his bed, and we know that hateful monster is crawling through the sand on a different planet to get up though and go after him. And that was an ominous ending. But yeah.
and she's all
So
she's gonna do is walk in there and just fuck up as this T16 toy. She's gonna be fuck your
she
toys.
pulls the wings off. Well, so I mean, granted, I've heard things about the next episode and all that kind of shit, but my reading of the end of this episode is that Reva, she's still going after Darth Vader still. She's still doing it and it's about revenge now. Right now, she has to really make the choice if it's about revenge. No, but is that what? Because that's at the end of the day, like this is how she can get him back. If she goes and kills his son that he doesn't know exist, that's a big moment. That's a big hateful thing that she could do to him. And I don't and maybe you could read it as even getting back at Kenobi, but I think she's been at war with both of those guys. I think she thinks they're both pieces of shit. But after this episode, I don't necessarily know if Kenobi is still like on her mind. I don't know where she's at with him. And I think that that's left ambiguous for so that way next episode we can get to the resolution of that. And I think that this fifth episode completely represents why we have a fandom of impatient people who need to fucking chill though and follow the narrative and see where it goes, whether you read spoilers or not. Because it's like it completely like everyone is loving this episode. No, everyone's loving the episode, and this episode only works because of the first 4 episodes. I mean, that's just
right.
a fact. But they're overlooking that. I'm not talking about critiques of it looking like a TV show or anything like that.
I'm not talking about that either.
Yeah,
I'm talking specifically about what you're talking about. All right. Okay. The thing though, Jason, and the thing that gets me about it is that I'm reminded of an interview Christopher McQuarrie did with the Light the Fuse podcast a couple years ago. And it was after Rogue Nation come out and he was getting ready to do he hadn't done the next one yet, right? So it was a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And he was talking about he came on to do ghostwriting on Ghost Protocol, right? Like Chris McQuarrie does a lot of script fixing, right? He doesn't like to talk about it, but he does uncredited script fixing.
Yeah.
And he came on to Ghost Protocol after they had started production, and there was this big thing in there. Brad Bird directed. There was this big thing on that movie where Ethan Hunt's girlfriend from the third movie was supposed to be dead, and they were making a big mystery out of it in the script. And he was talking about how, like, I don't really. He was saying that he's like, I'm not a mystery box guy. Like, he's like, I understand it makes for very compelling narrative device, right? Like, but for him, like, the mystery reveal is all you're ever going to get out of that. So if you take someone like Henry Cavill and you try to make a big mystery in the movie, is he a good guy or a bad guy? then they're spending their whole time wondering that and not paying attention to the film. Like they're noodling and thinking about this and thinking about. So you just get right out there like he's the bad guy. That isn't what we want you to be thinking about. We want you to be thinking about this moment.
Yeah.
And so like I think about is Reva, you know, like that opening thing with the Padawan, like we should have just seen Anakin cut her down. It's the way we want to wonder about how does she know Anakin? We know that, and then everyone has to have this conversation about that is irrelevant to that moment. You know, like it's not, it doesn't, the reveal is the reveal. What's more important is that Obi-Wan has to deal with the fact that, you know, he let down an army of kids were just slaughtered under his watch, you know, like that's more important bit.
I think that like you could cut the Order 66 opening, but it serves two functions. It serves the function of the Reva character that we do get the payoff here in 5, but it also informs the general audience who may not have seen Revenge of the Sith or doesn't remember it, what that was and what it meant. So that's kind of, that's
right. So the point is that you experience that from her eyes, and it's very clear on that. If it's very clear that we're experiencing that moment through her eyes, and then we're like, okay, how did she go from dead on the floor to being an Inquisitor? That's a whole, that I get, you know, like, okay,
that's the Book of Reva where she gets her robot tummies and back to things. But
well, that's probably coming, but like, you never know. But just wondering about it, and then at the end telling you, I just feel like that again. That's one of those things where you like, great idea at the back, the front end setting it up could have been executed better. You know, I just feel like then you just take away this whole argument and you just show it. Like there's something he said about like, and I'm trying to remember, I'll get the link to the fucking podcast, but I'm just remembering because he was like, when you drag out a mystery for so long like that, like it doesn't help. Like take the things that you normally you would be a mystery and show it. And the things, all that other shit that like that, you know, that character stuff, then you build that later. Like we didn't know, like that thing where she's like, would you have killed Anakin? And you're like, man, no one's ever called him out on that. Like even that was my biggest gripe with one of my biggest gripes about Revenge of the Sith was like Yoda should have been like, man, you couldn't kill him if you wanted to. You know, like it was just like, oh, I'm gonna go take care of Anakin. Are you really gonna be able to kill like your little brother? Yeah. You know, like, can you? So yeah, but it's all, I mean, it works at the end of it. It's fine, you know?
Well, like to go back to the Christopher McQuarrie thing that you said, no one was asking who Luke Skywalker's daddy was. They didn't make it a mystery that they drug out over 2 films and then told you at the end. They gave it to you and you didn't see it coming. That tends to work better than the long drag out. A lot of times Star Wars knows that people are looking for that and then drags it out and then doesn't deliver.
And he was I remember that
Rey's parents.
He had just done that interview after The Force Awakens had come out. And so like I know for a fact that was a direct dig at J.J. Abrams, the mystery box deal. You know, and it's like it's his executive producer on those films too.
Well, he was he was working on Rogue One at that time, I believe, which would have meant that he was in that culture very heavily and maybe having a disagreement about what is effective. Right.
And then having to fix things. Yeah. Which he's like, I don't like, I mean, we can go on and on. It's a very fascinating look. Chris McQuarrie is probably the best orator to storytelling that I've ever heard. Like, and I've listened to them all. I've listened to all the screenwriters talk. I've been to the freaking the story structure meeting.
Is Will Morgan having a tech problem, or are we having a tech problem? If you guys can't hear us, let us know. Just go on. I think it's fine though.
I don't know what Will Morgan's doing.
Yeah, Will Morgan might need to get a new sound blaster. I remember that shit. But anyways.
But I do think, I know like sometimes people, I don't like the Mission Impossible. I'm not asking you to like them, but to understand how that stuff is constructed, if you think it's super simple or easy, listen to Christopher McQuarrie talk about it. And the dude has broken every rule there is in Hollywood to get those things done. Like the reason why they're successful is because there is not a formula. I do think though,
but open DMs if you want confirmation about scoops about you. Just saying, Christopher. Just saying.
He did talk though, and this to get to the music, and this I can't put this on Natalie Holt. I can't. Who knows, whatever. But there was a discussion in that interview about who they were like, who would you like to see direct a Mission Impossible movie? And he was giving off some pretty interesting names, but when it came to big names, he was like, look, Oliver Stone was in talks to direct Mission Impossible 2 for the longest time. But every time Tom Cruise went to talk to Oliver Stone about it, Oliver was like, hey, I gotta use a theme. You know, do we have to use that? And so he was saying things like, look, when big directors come onto a Mission Impossible movie or a movie of a franchise film, they want to make it their own. But like removing the theme isn't how you do that. That's putting you or posterity. I mean, the exact phrase because I wrote it down. He's like, the most toxic thing. He said this: the most toxic thing you can think about as a filmmaker is posterity. Like you're thinking about your legacy before the film. Yeah. He's like, your film should be the thing people remember for 50 years, not your name. You know, like, and what you're putting in front of it. And I always think about an artist who puts their style before the book. You know, like, if the way I'm drawing isn't the best fit for Batman, I need to alter my art style a little bit, not to emulate, but to fit the tone of the book. So, like, whenever I see, like, Danny Elfman do a score and he's just like, oh, we don't need Doctor Strange's theme, I'm like, this fucking dude, because, well, I'm Danny Elfman. I'm not putting someone else's theme in my movie. He did the same thing to what did he do? Something else he did, some shit. I was like, why did he remove the Age of Ultron, like no Avengers theme? It's just shit like that. So in here, I'm like, okay, I get we're respecting John Williams' stuff. I get that. But there are other themes or not themes, but yeah, there are other things you can do to invoke Star Wars so you know you're in a Star Wars film. You know, you're in a Star Wars movie. And sound has been such a giant part of Star Wars, you know, that it's like when it's not front and center, even on the prequels, when Ben Burt would be like, you ain't getting no sound effects in the pod race, or you ain't getting no music until that last race. You ain't getting no music during this moment. Or in the opening of Revenge of the Sith, when they take that Jedi March, the militaristic Jedi March, which is fantastic on the CD, and then he just puts it below all these all these beeps and boops and shit. You're just like, come on, man. You know, like know the time for sound design and then whatever. But here I thought like the new music, the synth score that Natalie's doing, and the storytelling were more in sync here than any of the episodes so far. Like,
yeah,
you know, you'd be hard pressed if you were just a normal person turning on a Star Wars show, you didn't know what the Imperial March was like, you would have thought you heard it in this episode. Like, it's so similar in some beats, you know.
Yeah, in terms of like the general sound design itself, it hasn't really been too notable. I usually kind of, for me, just on a personal level, sort of almost evaluate it by, can I remember it? Can I remember a sound that I heard in the episode and associate it with the moment, the scene? And like when the doors are breaking and then open and stuff like that, whatever they did for that sound stuff in those moments was like really, really strong. There was a couple of cool moments in this episode, but also
I still don't know.
It's a bunch of laser blast and shit, you know, at the end of the day.
And I couldn't tell you the Inquisitor's theme, or I couldn't, you know what I mean? I couldn't even remotely tell you any of it. It's sort of working, but
yeah,
whatever.
Yeah. But I like I said, I feel like I feel right now I have been enjoying Kenobi immensely. Like I've watched the whole thing 5 times now, and I watched the last episode 3 times, and I don't hate it. Like I don't have that amount of rewatch on the other shows. So for me, this isn't saying it's the best show they've ever done, or it is or it isn't. I'm not making a value judgment on that level. I'm saying this is the one I have been able to watch the most. And that's always kind of what I judge by what makes something my favorite. Revenge of the Sith is a Star Wars movie I could watch pretty often. Like I don't really have a hard time putting that one on and having it on, and I enjoy it. And I feel like pretty much the same way with this show. And I feel like there was always a moment though where when we got to this critical point where shit could have fallen apart, and I could have been like, oh, it didn't get all tied together. I felt like this tied it all together. I think it did it. So right now, I could see, and one thing I could see, best case scenario, we get to the last episode and it shits the bed. That would suck, but I would still be happy with the first 5, with how we got from the depressed guy to bringing Kenobi back as a person, as a hero. So that part right now is successful for me. So that's good. But if the last part fucking rocks it, then I am more than happy with what they did. I can excuse the fact that it looks like shit sometimes.
Yeah, for me, if the music was more like Giacchino's work in Rogue One, then I would probably agree with you. I could leave it on, but it's just not lyrical enough for me. So it's hanging on the word, and I'm not as interested in what most people are saying in the show. Not all of them. There's some I love, but most of it, I'm like, I need to leave this on repeat for me. So yeah, it's a bit of a shame because like that episode of Book of Boba Fett, the Mando episode, it's not because it's Mando, just it's so well constructed for me. And the imagery is so great that I'm like, there's some annoying shit in that episode. I'm not a fan of the what's her face that reminds me of my mom, your mom.
Oh, Pelimoto. I love Pelimoto. Yeah,
like, I know. I'm like, all right, just cut it in half. Like you don't need as much, just a little bit less, and it will go. She's so forward, it goes a long way. Is all I'm saying.
Look at what Hatcher just wrote. Reddit thinks they can't afford to pay John Williams to use his music. He's like, I wrote the Star Wars music and Star Wars may borrow it.
It's a creative decision. Yeah. So, yeah, for me, I think, again, this is the best episode of the series so far. But I also feel like I've seen everything this episode has to offer. I don't need to sit through it again. I really enjoyed the Anakin Obi-Wan Attack of the Clones, but I almost wish they nail that look of the prequels with the flatter, just because the way the Coruscant looks, like it actually is like a totally flat. Again, it's that cinematography in this. It's so weird where it's like bam, flat, and then it scales back, and you're in that scene from the beginning, right on that.
I'm gonna go grab another water. Talk to these savages real quick. I'll be right back. I'm thirsty. I'm a thirsty man. Got the thirst of Tatooine in my robot tummy.
What was I saying? So I was saying that, like, yeah, like it pulls back and then you're in the Attack of the Clones. Awesome. It's kind of flatter, which I was like, that's interesting if they used the look of the prequels. Anytime they flashback or did a story during the prequel era, if they kept that exact look, is interesting. It's an interesting take. I'm not against that. The problem is when that look continues into the modern time, and I'm like, oh no, it's just the way the art direction was. So weird to me. But I don't care that they didn't de-age him. What I find weird though, like I love Better Call Saul. No one gets de-aged in that show. You just play their younger selves. Easiest way to do it. I get it. The weird part is there's just no consistency in that. So like they just made the biggest deal out of de-aging Mark Hamill. Right? For the last 2 years, we've been hearing about de-aging Mark Hamill. Almost 2 years now, about a year and a half. And then when they finally got a time to show we can de-age another guy, then it's like, no, just makeup. I'm like, look, that's fine, but you just made the biggest deal out of how we could do it. And then now you're like, but we're not doing it here. That's that weird Lucasfilm it's just be a little consistent. Like if we're gonna do it, then we're gonna do it. Yeah. So I don't mind a CGI Tarkin in Rogue One. I don't mind it. But like, if like I was to say, if like they made Rogue 2 and now it's like, it's a real guy, but then there's a couple pickup shots where it's the CG model, then it's like, what are you doing? You gotta pick one. Like, so I get why they didn't want to do it here, because you want Hayden to be able to just act and you're not looking at a plastic face or something like that the whole time. I get all that. And they want him on set. There
was a couple of moments of a little bit of digitization.
Yeah, but it's not like Luke and Luke. Look, Luke.
Yeah.
Luke and Boba Fett, man, that fucking episode, like, you look at it, you're like, man, that's hard. Like, I get when it moves, sometimes it's not as expressive as it should be, but still, man, that's like, that's 1980s Mark Hamill. They just dug his ass right up, you know, dragged him out there,
Did you
brush off his shoulders?
did you see, by any chance, did you watch me and Max's conversation last night?
No, I have not. No,
well, one of the things that I don't say is why it happened this way, but one of the questions that I asked was, is there a chance that in the lightsaber fights with the swords going in front of their faces and their bodies twirling and shit like that, could perhaps the deep fake technology not really be something that you can apply with efficacy
if we
entirely?
Had Cinefex, I would be excited to know that in a few months we're gonna find out. Or I know probably this month is if there was a Cinefex, it would probably be this month's issue.
We need to find somebody who like created the deep fake stuff and be like, hey, can we just interview you about what's possible and what's not? Not like an ILM person. I wonder if we could find somebody who was on that team. You know, that would be fun.
They would speak to you for real. Like me, they're gonna be like, what do you want to know? What do you want to know?
Yeah, what are you doing, man?
Trying to sell me crypto? Trying to sell me NFT?
You trying to do new Crash Bandicoot with deepfake? Trying to steal our shit? Trying to do a Crash Bandicoot? Trying to do a Bandifake? Oh wait, you're trying to get Crash? Wait, you're trying to put Crash in Terminator now?
Everyone gets a long furry nose. That's how it works. That's how it works.
Yeah. There's like things about the production that I find fascinating in a weird way. Like when the first time I watched the episode, the very first time, and it opens up with the vista of Coruscant. For one brief second, I thought we were looking at a painting in like an office or something. I was like, are we looking at a picture of the city? And then
it's very flat and not much is moving.
Yeah, and then you can see the space traffic, and you're like, oh, okay, or whatever. But what they did was they literally just filmed the volume. They literally just filmed the background as if it was the actual shot, which does give the shot consistency. But I do wonder if that was the way to go. You know what I mean? Because it was not Revenge of the Sith Coruscant. It was very much quiet Attack of the Clones Coruscant.
Well, that's why when you were gone, I was stating like there's an interest. I want to see if it's intentional or not. There's an interesting case to be made that, and I'm not for it, but I can get it and agree with it. If you're gonna do a flashback or a scene from Attack of the Clones or the Phantom Menace or Revenge of the Sith, that they're going to keep the exact digital look they had for that movie when you're there. The weird part is when we see that Boba Fett shot, you know, when he's young on Geonosis. No, I always think that should be Geonosis because that's where it's made. Kamino. You got the names wrong, man. Like, if you're going to make shit, Genesis. If you're going to build cars, Kamino. So, just saying. But
fair enough.
Yeah. But anyway, is that look like Attack of the Clones, but shot from like someone who actually got a camera? Like, let's move this shit around. Let's fucking do some real shit, you know? Like, not completely on a blue screen. Actually built a set this time, you know? Like, and when I say blue screen, like they were literally sitting down on like blue chairs and they CGI'd the chairs. I don't know why the fuck you do any of that, but like, I get
Wanted to try it.
I hear you. I hear you, man. I hear you. But here, so like that's an interesting way to take it. The thing that gets me though is there's a bit more of those sort of, we got it all in volume shot, you know, things in here where I'm like, maybe it's not the best, you know, the volume on every fucking thing, you know?
Yeah.
Like I used to be super pro volume, you know, when the Mando came out. And then now I'm like, it's a tool. It's a real fancy version of rear projection, you know, which saves Superman's ass. If you ever go look at the making of the first Superman movie, rear projection is like the only way they could have gotten anything done on that.
Hey, on classic TV, people would have never driven anywhere without it. But in these shows,
when you look at movies,
when you look at Book of Boba Fett, and you look at Kenobi, it is clear to me that they are going for consistency within their own show, not within the franchise. I mean, I'm saying what whether it's right or wrong, that appears to be what their approach is, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I don't know what to think about it. You know, like there are
Mm-hmm.
parts where Macquarie's talking about Mission Impossible, what makes it mission, and it's so weird when someone calls it mission, but like I get it. But if you have your franchise, what makes it a franchise? What gives you that feeling of it? But then where are you doing things to make it completely different? Because the tone of say a Rogue Nation to a Fallout is two different things. And Ghost
Mm-hmm.
Protocol, they're not the same film. They have a lot of the same
I've never
big
seen any of
things.
them, so it's all Greek to me.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
I get
man.
the
Like
point. I get the point, though.
I hear. I knew you were gonna get annoyed that I bring up Mission Impossible.
No, I'm not annoyed. I just letting you know that I don't really know what you're talking.
But those three
follow,
things don't
though.
have. They don't have the same type of score. They don't have the same type of cinematography. You know, and they have completely different like, um, mousetrap stuff. Like where you think it's gonna go this way, but it goes that way. But like everyone knows what to expect. Like what does that mean? And he was talking about how like you get new directors and they all think they can do it. They're like, oh, this is like Fast and the Furious, so this is like Bourne. And he's like, yeah, that's not gonna work here. And I think there is a lot of parallel to Star Wars. Like when you start doing things, you're like, well, we've never seen. Like again, when the Phantom Menace came out, the comic book shop that I went to, the guy was like, too much Hong Kong cinema, too much Hong Kong cinema, and I'm like, I guess if it stays there for 20 years, it becomes Star Wars. However, they never really went back to that wushu style, so it really is just there in that one fight. However, the sword fights of the prequels have tended to be where Star Wars has gone with the sword fight. So in this episode, when you actually see some pretty good choreography, you're like, hey, look, they actually worked that out again. So the downside is that the dojo's fine, but in the hangar base scene, because it's all right there, it's again just a flat plane with two people fighting. It's like, I don't want to hear about how the Death Star fight between Obi-Wan and Vader was boring because it's just them fighting, when this is what we're getting now too. Like,
Yeah.
if there was a sequence built where she's like in the, let's say she's in that hallway,
she Leia? Or
Reva.
Reva?
She were like in the hallway coming back across the bodies or something, the stormtroopers, and there was something more like he's coming around the corner, kind of thing. There'd be some way to do that, in a way that wasn't just them, like Obi-Wan versus Vader in the hangar of the Death Star. Like it's a lot of like, I think it's just tough. The cinematography in this is so flat. Like it's just so weird. A lot of ships coming at you straight on, a lot of ships coming at you back this way, and a lot of like looking at people from the side view, like Street Fighter.
Yeah, I was thinking of that when I was watching it because of your past criticisms. When you do see things, it is very much like I don't really know if I have a problem with it, but there is now a Deborah Chow style of shooting ships. And
I think a more interesting saber fight could have occurred in this series was when I'm not saying it had to be there because this wouldn't make sense for y'all. I'm just saying visually is when they were on is that Nurj? What's the farm planet they went to where he's on that back of the truck where he sees the image of
Mapusa.
Yeah, Mapusa. Right?
Mapusa.
So many weird names. You'd think I'd remember that one, but Mapusa, like on a hill with grass and shit, like that's an interesting place to have one, like that's, I don't know, like it's just when you got two of them occurring, you got a dojo scene where they're going to be in a small room with a flat level base, two people fighting. And I guess maybe that's the symmetry. They're like, we're going to see two blue lightsabers fighting, and then at the end of the episode, we're going to see two red sabers fighting. I can see that case being made. I just, unless that fight is her fight really paralleling that memory, or are we like, it's so hard to, I don't know who's having the memory in this episode because they keep cutting to Vader, so I think Vader's having the memory, but
I feel like I feel like it's Kenobi who profits from the memory and the narrative, but they both like Kenobi and Vader experienced it, so I think it's sort of being depicted as a shared memory.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It's just, but how that relates to the battle at the end between Reva and Vader, because they're shot in very similar ways. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like perhaps we're seeing Vader learned that she was going to betray him because he was able to see what was coming up behind him, that he wasn't so focused on the victory. You know what I mean? Like that part, it's a little muddy for me. Not bad muddy, just like, all right. The thing that I got to complain about, Jason, right? I'm going to bring this up now. I've waited. This is my own 2 cents. I haven't listened to anybody talk about this. So I don't know what anybody else. I haven't listened to Campias or Harlow. Nobody's.
Okay.
The thing that gets me is if Vader knows Reva's betrayed him and he's giving her the fake Inquisitor pin to get her all high on, Inquisitor power and shit, right? Which is fine. It's not a sleight of hand. So, like, Vader's got the Inquisitor in another room. And so, like, does Vader and the Inquisitor go, okay, check this out. She's going to go down. She's going to totally betray me. But you're going to come out with me. You're going to talk some shit. So, like, because Vader comes down in his own shuttle, right? His own Tidarium shuttle. He doesn't come down with Reva in the Batwing, which is what I'm calling it for now until I remember. It's got the fucking Batwing, dude. It's crazy. But, it's dope. But is the Inquisitor hiding out in the shuttle? Like, okay, do I come out now? No, she hasn't gone yet. Okay. Like, does she wait for her to go in and then he comes around and he's like coming around the back? Like, has she done it yet? Oh, she hadn't done it. That's the thing where I'm just like, I get that. I like his speech and he's very like a young Palpatine in some ways, right? He's doing that like Palpatine.
The Grand Inquisitor?
Return of the Jedi. Yeah, he's doing the Grand Inquisitor is doing the Palpatine shit talking that he does in Return of the Jedi, right? Like, it's just like the way he planned. It's a little plot. Like Vader had to have planned and foreseen all that shit. Like Vader should have been like trying to use the dark side to figure out the future more than us seeing visions of the past. I don't know. It's just, you have to like let it go.
Yeah,
I get it. It's pulp, but
I think Vader is known like the whole time who she is. He remembers her. He calls her youngling. He knows exactly who she is. He knows what her ultimate like revenge path is going to be. They use hate to feel the dark side, to do the shit that they do to get their power. She has it. And I don't think it was a mystery to the Grand Inquisitor and Darth Vader what her overall like plan was going to be. But I think that for whatever reason, they decided to let it play out, knowing it would probably yield results at her expense. That's probably what we could take from it. Because at the end of the day, it is actually, she is getting results that Vader does want. And I think Vader is even allowing it to have like I think if it wasn't Obi-Wan Kenobi and she stabbed the Grand Inquisitor over like, I'm gonna die, then
does he just keep the Grand Inquisitor in a shuttle now until she does screw up? Because she didn't screw up this time. Just staying here, don't reveal yet. Totally. It's the thing. Yeah. I don't know, man. Like,
or you could also see that maybe the Grand Inquisitor came in his own ship and landed and was behind them and then just finally arrived.
He didn't need to be in that final scene. There could have been something in the next episode or something. I just feel like that where he just comes around his shoulder. Ta-da, bitch. No. Like, it's like, all right, gotcha.
No, it was smart because they compound the stakes like 3 or 4 times at the very end in succession, and so I think that was I think it was actually well crafted in that way from a structural standpoint. My only critique of the whole fucking thing is that I don't like mysteries when you lie to me, and when they showed the Grand Inquisitor get killed, they literally depicted it as if he died. Not as if there was no ambiguity there. They made it look like he died. They didn't play it. They didn't cut away fast. They made it look like that. And that was a little cheap. And I don't think that they should have done it that way.
Again, that's just needless mystery boxing for no reason. Where does it go? It goes nowhere. Well, he reveals himself. There's something Macquarie said. He goes, the problem with mystery boxing, he says, it tends to lead you with 3 words at the end of it. And was it like I got it written down this or he goes it's the words and so and okay, like okay, like oh, and he's alive, so all right, like it doesn't do much. So Yeah, that big reveal. It's just a reveal at the end of something that I don't know. It's one of those things where Vader saying something there would have meant more to me than his little shit talking right there. But the shit talking's great for whenever, because he's a grand shit talker. He's a good shit talker. I mean, he's a pretty good shit talker, dude. I like him.
Yeah.
It's just when you do the math, you're like, Vader had to have known she was gonna. So then he's got him on retainer, and then he goes down there, and then he has to wait till Vader goes in first, then she has to go on after. It's like when he sees her creeping, he must have been like, I saw you creeping. I knew you were gonna try to stab in the back. Here I am, you know. It's just moments like that. Like, all right, whatever. The Jimmy Smits thing was funny, man. The bail thing where he goes, I just haven't heard from you. Gotta tell me what's going on. I'm going to Tatooine to get the kid. Like, well, just chill out before you.
Yeah. You know what? I actually made a note of that. I skipped it. My note on that was not Bell's best or brightest moment, but he hasn't heard from his daughter, and he's a parent who is freaking out. So I'm
sure.
That's where I'm like, okay, you know what I mean? I'll give him that.
Well, that's why I don't understand. Why did they not just go and drop her off on Alderaan?
Mm-hmm.
Like that after they fly back from the base, why don't they just go drop her off?
But it's justified in the follow-up episode where he says, we have this window to get these people where they need to go. I got to do the stop first. Like, we have to do this. So he can't go to Alderaan, have all of those people back at Jabim miss their window. And he doesn't know that they're being trapped.
2 ships though, right? Because they had the fake out ship, and then he has his ship. Is he the only one who could pilot it? Is that what that is? Like, because they have more than one ship.
I mean, if we could talk. I mean, we could.
And none of them were on the fake out ship, so they'll all fit onto one ship. Jason, but look, they're asking me
Wade's
to do
brother was
interesting math.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Like, Wade's brother's on other ship.
Yeah. Well,
who's piloting the fake out ship that Vader ruined?
When they
just an autopilot.
Well, when they go in the other ship, I don't know if the hyperdrive is broken because it was always broken, and they didn't take the one that they meant to. I'm not sure. I don't know. Like, it's kind of
add that sound in, so like it's one of those classic. We'll add the sound in so they know. But I'm like, yeah, I hear you. I hear what you're doing.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
There's a shoo 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 shoo. You can hear it.
Okay. Okay.
And when I heard it, I was like, they're doing this one. Interesting. You know, like it's just a little weird sometimes for me with Star Wars, because, like, you know, they have a whole movie called The Empire Strikes Back where getting people off a planet required an orbital cannon, you know, and a bunch of stuff. And here you have a Star Destroyer, you know, sitting above there. The Imperial has the high ground getting off this planet. So did they have to go around the backside of the planet to get around, to get out of it? Like, I don't know.
Wade's World. Sorry, I had to do it for you.
It's pretty good. You know what? Star Wars in game. Never even thought about it till now.
Pretty good.
Pretty good. So simple. So effective. I love it.
Can we get the Wayne's World logo with Wade? Can we get that one made?
I can do that.
Yeah,
I can't animate it.
I'll get the hat though. I'll buy the hat on Zazzle or some bullshit like that.
They will DMCA those hats.
Wait, they're like, Wade. Whoa, Disney is like, no, you will not profit off Wade fans.
No one monetizes Wade but us.
Wade was a national tragedy, and you will not monetize it. But yeah. No, I have to imagine that if they were going to originally get people out in 2 ships, and that having everybody on one ship isn't ideal. I think that's probably where they're going. Instead, they like doubled up. And when I remember back to my original notes, I had the fight between Vader and Obi-Wan for the real fight, starting on a ship and then ending on a moon of Mustafar. So I'm guessing that Vader will board the ship, and maybe they begin the conflict there, and then I don't know how they would end up on the planet, but yeah, it's going somewhere like that. But I also don't know my Star Wars geography, so I don't even know if that still makes sense. If the moon of Mustafar makes sense, from where they are, but I guess if they say it does, it does.
The whole Mustafar system has a lava planet and a water world on it. It's for Star Wars.
Vader immortal, buddy.
Systems and planets.
Vader immortal. You gotta remember that it wasn't a fire planet until the dark side did its dark side stuff. Remember? In VR. Remember you were there.
It's been a couple years.
And then at the end, you turn it into a luscious, beautiful world like the end of Captain EO.
Once you
just another part of me.
All I remember is the holocron and seeing Natalie Portman in VR. What do you want me to do? It's awestruck by that. Like, it's like you should get more of this. When am I getting more of this?
Like, I do think in that game, whenever you touch Darth Vader's chest plate, when you hit the buttons, I think he should just kill you. I think that should be like he should do a finishing move on you and kill you every time. Because I do it all the time. I completely, I baseball pat his codpiece. He doesn't do anything about it. He doesn't care. Just saying. Arya says, love the fact.
Great if you could kick him right in the Jimmy.
You can.
He just falls over.
You can't. No, you can't. He just doesn't care. He's like the dark side. I have balls of Sith.
He's like Beavis and Butthead's gym instructor. Kick me in the Jimmy. All right.
Arya says, love the fact that she found the hologram instead of using the mind probe info. Makes more sense. And no fifth brother. Yeah, what happened to him? Maybe he's in the maybe we'll see him in the next episode. Maybe when they get the ship. I don't know.
Look, the less we see of that guy, the better the series is.
I know.
Like, they were wise to delete any footage of him in this episode if that was available.
My thing about it, if there is a thing, is we had to have that stupid shit at all. And then if we just went with the stupid shit and then it just like literally just gets forgotten about in it, it was extra stupid shit for less reason than it was already there. I know he can't die or anything, so I'm not really sure, what you do with that. If it's just more about seeing the Inquisitor culture and the competition, and the competition ends up being bait and switch for Reva's true plan. You know what I mean?
I know it's tough using that phrase now. These fucking assholes.
Yeah.
Because you can't use it legitimately without sounding like them who co-opt it for negative, nefarious reasons.
Yeah. Neil says, going into 6, I know we get the duel and Reva with Luke, but I'm wondering what else is going to fill up the longer episode. Leia's return. Leia's going to go home.
It's a 45-minute episode. It's not,
like I said,
people thinking that thing's 90 minutes, bro, because of that Canadian Q&A.
I know. I told them 10 times. I told them 10 fucking times. I'm not going to tell them anymore. So yeah, it's the final episode's 2 hours. Everybody enjoy. Yeah, I quit. I'm done.
Watch, it really isn't, and Rob's over there just banging his head into a wall. Why? Oh. Why? It's all just the Fifth Brothers adventures. You got to get through that.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, he's playing Pong or Space War, or he's at Anchorhead playing that Pong game with the fucking Neek 2 speeder bikes.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, next week, obviously, we have the big fight with Obi-Wan and Darth Vader. And gotta say, after now having seen the 5 episodes, I think they did a really good job of promising we would get this rematch. But the fact that I feel like right now, after all is said and done, we knew about the flashback and that there was a lightsaber fighting in it. But I do feel like we are getting like three duels throughout this thing, which is way more than I would have dreamed of. I didn't even think we would get one, and then I think that we've gotten 3, and I think it's kind of I'm liking the first duel a lot better as we move into this now that we've seen Kenobi come back, that we've seen like where he's at, and that you could already juxtapose the guy who was in that episode with Darth Vader versus the guy who was in the 5th episode. It is completely night and day. And so
I'm really, as an artist, anytime I'm given a fight scene to draw, I'm always talking to the writers like about like location and geography
Mhm.
and time of day, temperature, right? And they never think about it. I've never once had a writer go, "Well, oh man, here's what it is." They just go, "I don't know," you know. They don't. In my experience, I've yet to meet a writer who thinks that matters. And the
Note to self:
location,
when writing a script with Rob, write Tuesday, sunny, 60
no,
degrees.
think about the environment you're in, because the environment is everything to a fight. Like it's a character, and it's not just geography. It is literally telling an additional story, and it changes the dynamics of what is possible in a fight based just on, again, you can't say it isn't Star Wars, because at the last second in Revenge of the Sith, the high ground turned out to be the most important thing for the whole fucking fight. Who would have known? I wouldn't. But here we are. So I just think every time you got one, having them in similar rocky, flat environment, even when they're outside, it's flat ground environments, is just, you gotta think up another sequence. Give me a little bit of fucking interest. Give me something that is just not what they did the last time. Even if ultimately it is, you don't feel like it was. I think that's the bigger trick. As anytime you're making art, is sometimes you have to like make the same thing because you got time, budgets, restrictions, but you don't want the audience or to feel like you gave them the same thing.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a magic trick. It's not easy to do.
I think you bring up an important detail that they are fucking up to some extent, and that is the flat ground. I think you are 100% right. When I look at all of the TV productions that they have done, it's almost always flat ground. And also when we get to like when we get to Mapuzo, a lot of the stuff when there is the first time when you actually have land that's not flat, and I think that's why I found it okay.
Except the Boba Fett fight in Mando season 2, where he's jumping around rocks and shit out in the backyard, on the foothills of out in Thousand Oaks. That being said, it wasn't on flat. It was actually in a that geography, that fight.
Yeah,
they needed some color grading. The color grading on Jabim is great on this episode. The exteriors, that's what we must have been looking at in the Volkswagen commercial. Like, it needed some of that Volkswagen commercial.
No. You're looking at Tatooine at night.
Oh,
from the probably from the next episode.
We needed that because that shit looked fucking amazing. But I haven't seen any of that in this series yet. Maybe that's in the last episode. Yeah. But they gotta be. Did they just make that whole bit for the Volkswagen commercial? Like, because it looks like they're shooting the episode. Like, has to be the 6th episode. If it isn't, it's what a letdown. Because I really love the way that looked. But that fight was so great because it was uneven terrain, rocks, and just different. Like. And it was such a shame when you get to the Boba Fett series, you're like, oh, none of that, huh?
Yeah.
Bummer. Well.
Yeah.
So, like, sometimes they hide the seams well. Like, yeah, it's a flat fight on top of the train in Boba Fett season 2. But you got speed. So speed changes the dynamics.
Sure.
Same when in season 2 when they're on the back of that transport carrier, right? Speed affects that. So okay, on top of a fast moving object, it's flat, but something else from the sides can get you, kind of thing. The thing here, I would have liked to see, was that scene where like the stormtroopers like bum rushing Obi-Wan like through the door, like he's like bum rushing him. I was like, or like when Obi-Wan pushes Reva back into the troopers, like it's like just knock some dudes over, man. Just like cut them in half. Like that, you got a lightsaber. There's not enough dismemberment going on in these fights. Like for me, man, I'm just like, cut off some limbs. Like I want to see some limbs flying off like popcorns and shit. Just sometimes, just not all the time, but something. When you got a group of stormtroopers, I always just wanted to wade in there.
I think we like to save it for Karens and crowds. in this series,
Is but when you got a Sith female,
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Okay, I'm just kidding. Yeah. I mean, we had the one lady got her hand cut off, and and then that was kind of it.
For what? Turns out she was right too. Owen was high. She should have been like, motherfucker.
She should have
was
shut her fucking
lying
mouth.
to me. Like he told me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that poor woman's like. Meanwhile, on Tatooine, she's just like, yeah, whatever.
Well, I like I said, I'm just relieved that at the end of the day, I feel like the series deserves to exist. I have not always felt that way about every show. Sometimes I don't think that it existing helped anything. Book of Boba Fett.
The only one I feel
And
that way about is the Book of Boba Fett. Like, yeah,
yeah,
that Mando episode and the flashback, those could have just been 2 episodes in season 3 of Book of Boba Fett. There's just no reason for that. Other than that, that series, just didn't need to happen. It didn't help anybody.
yeah,
Didn't help the brand. Didn't help the chatter. So,
yeah.
but this show's gonna be 50-50, and when I say 50-50, I don't mean like, oh, I guess I like it, I don't. It'll be people will love it, people will hate it. Like that's what I mean by 50-50. Like
Sure.
I'm actually one of the few people who's like, I'm in the middle. Sometimes I'm like, this scene's amazing. And other times I'm like, where's the wipes? Where's one Kurosawa wipe? When they do the flashback, gotta give me the Kurosawa. By the way, I did like Vader in front of the hyperspace tunnel shot.
Yeah,
I thought that was pretty good.
yeah. That's what I was saying. That was like the one time they used the volume in a way that actually like complemented, like that shot didn't exist without it, and it was rad. I think.
Yeah, that I thought was pretty good. I would almost think like you don't need the scene before where he's talking to her and gives her a little pin. You could cut it out and go right from that opening. The thing with the Attack of the Clones thing is they kept the prequel thing of like cutting away from a fight right when it starts. And you got to know, Jason, I hate that. Like you got to give me a little bit more of the fight. The minute it starts, cut away. Oh, we'll get back to that in 5 minutes. Go take a break, get a coffee. Like I'm just not a fan of it. It just cuts tension. I get why they learned to do it. Like you got an A and B story going on the Death Star and A New Hope, right? You got an A and B story in Empire of Luke versus Vader and then them escaping. Here, it's just showing us things that there's no reason. There's not like a tension build. It's just cutting away. Just cutting away to start a new thing. And that's something that Revenge of the Sith did that I'm like, man, I'm not a fan of it. That's why I was one of the things I liked about Attack of the Clones was when they did get to the Dooku, Obi-Wan, Anakin fight, they stuck with it. It stays with that fight, all the way through. They're not cutting between Yoda starting to fight him and then more scenes of the Clone Wars battles and blowing shit up and shit. Like stick with it a little bit. Like it really does give you a chance. Like the Reva versus Vader, when it's just going on. Yeah, because if they were cutting away to them getting out the atmosphere and then we're trying to get the hyperdrive, I don't know, and then the cut back to her and him fight, and then you cut back, oh, it's not working. I'll go let Obi-Wan know. Like you could see that doesn't help,
Yeah.
So yeah.
Star Wars Post says,
I
I think it was worth the $8 for the month, and I would agree, especially because I can't even go to the movies without it costing me $20, and then if I bring my kids, it's going to cost me about $50, $60. And so yeah, in terms of value, and that is to some extent where I am being a little bit easier on some of the production value of the fact that I am paying a lot less for it.
Yeah, sort of. The thing though,
well, I am paying a lot less for it, but I mean,
this doesn't matter obviously, but 2 nitpickies. One, Reva walking in front of her troops and then ordering them to fire. It's not a good idea. Like I get, even if they move the cannon to the left, right? We clearly see it's not. They're gonna shoot at an angle. Don't do that.
Yeah,
that's just not helping anybody. Like they're not. We've seen stormtroopers aren't the best shot anyway, so why would you ever stand?
Oh, don't worry, they don't ever shoot anybody. You'll be okay. You can set right in front of them. They can't hit you.
I know. And then the minute they brought it, I'm like, she has a lightsaber. Why wouldn't she just cut the fucking door open? We're invoking the prequels. The first thing we see is Qui-Gon shoving a saber into a blast door. Yeah, she eventually does it, but I think she should have done that first. I know.
It was about intimidating everybody inside. She was trying to make somebody crack or make it a tense situation. It was intimidation. That's why she has 50 1,000 stormtroopers all lined up and doing all that shit. It was a show. And then once she lost patience, she cuts right into it. So yeah,
I told you it's nitpicky. I'm just saying, like they address, she does use it.
Also, she just got her promotion. She wants to use that shit. This is the first time she gets to use that shit.
Those blast doors, really good at stopping blasters, horrible at stopping sound. They could talk right through that fucking thing.
I think they had a little like vent thing they were talking into. Maybe
it would have been great. And there's some goofy version of me, man, where I'm like, it would have been great if they had built one of those little like eyeball droids from Jabba's palace, but Obi-Wan had to speak through it. He's like,
"What the fuck you want?"
He goes back in, right? Hold on, and he comes back out.
It comes out. No, it comes out like this. It's all, "Oh my god, you were there." Like, what? That's so dumb.
But the thing with the budget, the thing with the budget, before I forget about it, is fine if they have to do it on a budget. The problem is when they crow about how this is the #1 thing on Disney Plus watched. Everyone's watching it. At that point, this is the reason to get it. Everyone's watching it. It needs to be the thing you're spending the most amount of money on. You don't need to greenlight a Pinocchio movie. Like, seriously, give them the Pinocchio budget on top of whatever you're giving them.
You're like, fucking monster.
Just
I'm with you. Unless that part where they smoke cigars and turn into donkeys is the whole show, because that was the best part.
You can do that in Star Wars. Lucas would approve that. That's something Lucas would have done.
Yeah. I smoked death sticks and turned into a donkey. Star Wars Santa says, "Is Reva going to get poked in the gut for the 3rd time?" No, she's not. That's what I said. That they took out the lie and her returning back, from what I understand. And then where things reverse from the lead. No, that's what I was saying, is they don't kill her now. She lives. She goes on, and she now lives. She will go on in other Star Wars shows if they want her to. And I from my understanding is that if they want to do more with this era, and there's characters and storylines in here that they want to probably expand upon. But I'm also not saying that Kenobi season 2 is in production, because I don't think they are there yet. But when they got those first numbers, they probably started really getting hell of a lot more serious about it. So, and Hello Me says it was a 10 out of 10. Hit Hello Me right where it needed to. I had to watch it twice, man.
I do hope that if they do continue this crew forward, that they learn the meaningful things to learn from and ignore the bullshit. I just hope that they're being creatively criticeful, whatever the word is, critical of what they work on, as I would if I get a second chance at something. If we continue forward on a project, I look at anything I do and I go, that worked, that didn't, don't do more of this. You know what I mean? And then like you constantly move forward. I don't like when people go, well, it's Star Wars, it's good enough, it made the numbers, that's the way you go. Like, don't do that, And don't beat yourself over for shit not 100% of the people like, because that's what George did on Attack of the Clones. And I don't think handicapping, like not saying the movie needed more Jar Jar Binks, but going with the way George did with Jar Jar, you just put him in the background, never comes back, really kind of takes the wind out of the sails out of anything you were doing on that first film, and it doesn't help, because then people just run. Oh, if I just bitch loud enough, I'll get what I want. Did you though? Because you don't know what could have been done. Like if he had been able to do Jackie Chan Jar Jar, like you don't know if you wouldn't have loved that or not. Like there's ways to get around all that,
And that was kind of the point I was making earlier, was there was a bunch of huge man babies crying like little fucking bitches about the fact that they didn't get last night's episode 4 weeks ago. Just fucking be patient. Jesus Christ. Neil says, you see the Hollywood Reporter interview with Hayden? I did. He says he asked George how to speak Wattonese to Watto for episode 2, and Lucas basically said, what'd he say?
I just said, just make it up. Just make it up. Doesn't matter. Just go whatever. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Chipapa Wawa. Who cares? It's just gobbledygook. No one's paying attention to this shit. I'm not. Why should you? The best part is they have to figure it all out at West End when I get done. James is fucked.
James is fucked. They asked him if George if he had talked to George. He's like, nah, I haven't heard from the guy. Ever heard from him at all. I hope he's liking the show. That was kind of where they ended that. But
I don't think I can. There we go. My mouse is not returning back to my other screen.
You're George forever now.
Hilarious. I'm George forever. Oh,
if
I know.
You
why.
make
Never
that
mind.
face, you'll get stuck that way, as they say.
No, I had my Cintiq pen over while I was trying to use my mouse, and the computer was like, "Pick one fucking point, or nitwit." Like, sorry, my bad.
Well, I think we did.
Yeah,
it,
I read that too, and I'm like, "That's so George." Like, I didn't even like. You have a story group; they can figure shit out. You know what I mean? You got access to everything, but he still had that 75 mentality, 76 mentality of it doesn't really, whatever. Like, it's just, I love it sometimes. I hate it, but I think I love it more than I hate it. Because you can't get away with that these days with some folks, man. That you just can't.
Yeah, George.
Also, can I just say about the Inquisitor's makeup, how much I really dislike it in this episode, more than even others. I don't know why. Overall, I dislike it.
You don't get his music. You don't understand him, Mom. I'm going to my room.
I was like sitting down to watch when I was watching Strange New Worlds episode 2. There's this alien planet. It's just like you see two people on the planet, just a mom and daughter. It's not a big deal. It's not that greatest of an episode, but makeup wise, I'm like, that should have been like, I'm looking at it, I'm like, that's great. Lots of scales, tons of detail. You know what I mean? Like, they're moving around and doing shit. Like, they got room for makeup, man. And don't tell me Star Wars don't have room for makeup budgets. I don't want to hear it.
I just want to see him getting ready, putting his out there and going, it's Friday, I'm in love.
Yeah.
Tuesday,
Wednesday, I imagine the Inquisitor
heart.
listens to Morrissey 100%. Like, yeah.
Morrissey is the Morrissey of Naboo.
Yeah. No, it's Morrissey.
Morrissey.
I said that once to my ex, who apparently life was changed by Morrissey back in the 90s. She hated me for it. So I said,
you don't. Yeah, don't.
I've never gotten better. I hold a grudge.
Yeah, I happen to date a type, and they all like Morrissey. I don't fuck with it. I just leave it alone. I just leave it alone.
Now they do.
But anyways, we'll be back tomorrow at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Talk about the old Star Wars, and hope everybody enjoyed the episode. And like the video, subscribe to my stupid channel, and ring the stupid bell, you jerkies. And we'll be back tomorrow. And leave a comment if you want to. There's something that we didn't get to talk about today because we were kind of focused on the review aspect, and we'll make sure that we read it and get to it and talk about it on the show, and come back tomorrow. And tomorrow we will take more chats. Oh, what's your score?
I grade on a 1 to 5.
Hold on.
1 to 5.
He's a scores man. Go ahead.
Scores man. I'm about giving scores. Watching Star Wars.
Guys and girls.
I like Sith guys. I like Sith girls.
Goyles.
Scores man.
Come on. All right, scores man. What's your score?
For me, I'd say this episode was a good 4 out of 5.
4 out of 5. All right. I'll take that. I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10. I liked it a lot. I just decided I do 9s out of 10s now, but I also don't.
I go 1 to 5, and then there's a 10.
Mm-hmm.
Everything between 5 and 10 don't count to me. So that's it.
Right. Man, all I could say is I hope you're not that way about mates. All right. You know what, honey? I gotta be honest with you. You're a 5. That's as high as I go.
Watch the show.
Yeah. So, Mrs. Rob, you're a 10. All right, everybody. We'll be back tomorrow.
My wife now. Okay. Matter if I get in trouble. Matter if people who on the show get in trouble.
I'm gonna cleanse it. I like spaceships. Did it even play?
Yeah.
Okay, on my screen, it went one more time for me.
I like spaceships.
Yeah,
buddy.
I like them too.
Bye, George.
It's the end of the show.
Come on, let's go. Hey!
It's the end of the show.
Come on, let's go. Hey!
It's the end of the show.
Come on, let's go. Hey!
You know you should go.
Come on, let's go.
It's not about spaceships.